Well, good afternoon and welcome to everyone that has recently joined our SERFF modernization session, A Smarter Way to Review Filings. I'm Renee Brownfield, a manager at the NEIC, and it's my great pleasure to be able to welcome you here today. You'll notice as you're coming in, you will not be able to unmute. So if you have any questions, please post those in the chat, and we have staff on site who will be able to answer those for you. Also, likewise, if you're having technical issues, please also post them there, and we'll get to those right away. If you are needing CE credit for this session, you will notice that Slido will pop up on WebEx occasionally. You want to make sure and answer those questions so that you can get credit. Or you can scan the QR code and be able to access that by your phone as well. So it's my pleasure to now introduce Bridget Kieras, who will be our presenter today. She has worked in software development at the NEIC for nearly 30 years, focusing on business analysis, quality assurance, project, and product management. Bridget has led several agile development projects, including a multi-year project to build SERFF's plan management component for health insurance exchanges. And she is now the business lead for another multi-year SERFF modernization project. In addition to her work experience, Bridget is active in several professional organizations. She has served in leadership positions for the Kansas City chapter of the International Institute of Business Analysis, also the Kansas City Quality Assurance Association, and the Kansas City chapter of Women in Agile. She is a certified product manager and a certified safe agilist. Bridget is also an active volunteer and former board member for Melissa's Second Chances, an animal rescue in Shawnee, Kansas. Bridget earned her bachelor's in business administration from the Henry W. Block School of Management at the University of Missouri in Kansas City. So it's my opportunity to be able to welcome you and also turn it over to Bridget.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you, everyone, for taking some time to join us today. I'm excited to talk to you about the SERFF modernization project and to discuss specifically some of the things that we're doing to make the filing review process easier for you as regulators. Many of you attended the session just prior to this, where Lauren focused on some of the industry features, so I'll be giving you some highlights on the state side. The first thing I want to do is to open up with some discussion about why we're doing this project in the first place. And many of you have probably heard these themes before. While the SERFF application enjoys fairly widespread user satisfaction, a few years ago, the NAIC membership undertook a business and technical assessment because they felt like the platform could be doing more for state insurance departments. Some of the things that we were specifically looking to provide a better foundation for were related to operational efficiencies. So we know that you are resource constrained. Most departments of insurance have very senior staff. And when those folks move on from retirement or through other opportunities, there's tremendous loss of process and business knowledge. So we wanted to provide a system that would help you move from data entry to really deeper analysis and to give that lift to your staff when they are reviewing filings. Those filings were becoming more complex as you saw innovation in the insurance space. Sometimes the regulators would receive filings that were very unique and something that they had not dealt with before. So we wanted to provide some advanced tools to help with the review of those products. And then finally, just technology in general. SERFF had its last major technical change back in 2006 when we went from Lotus Notes to Oracle. And while we have added on to the system over the years, we haven't really upgraded that base technology. So it is a monolithic application. It is sometimes hard to update quickly and to innovate. So we wanted to use the latest and greatest technology to be able to continue to respond to change over the coming years. We often talk about the SERFF modernization as a project that has a defined start and end, but SERFF is a product. So this project will build that foundation, and then we'll continue to develop it and enhance it in years to come. Some of the things that we are introducing, starting with our very first release, are some key feature improvements that we think will help with speed to market, as well as the overall efficiency of both our filers and our regulators. We've really focused on some tools for the industry to try to improve their compliance at submission. One of the end goals for this project is to provide more tools and more validations to the industry as they're building that filing so that they can correct mistakes before they even get to the regulator. We want to reduce that back and forth that you see today through objection letters and responses. So we've put some tools in place today, and we will continue to build on those in subsequent releases. Some of those tools involve business rules and fee calculation. I will show you some highlights of that when we get to the demo segment. We've also provided more customization down to the individual user level, including a customizable dashboard meant to help you manage your workload more efficiently and see all of the filings that require your attention, as well as to do some prioritization. Coupled with that is the task management module, which is an out-of-the-box component of the new feature. It will replace some of the things you have today, such as some of the things that come in through the message center, and allow you to have tasks related to your filings, as well as general tasks for things that needed to be accomplished. And I'll show you how that works during the demo portion as well. We've worked a lot on the review workflow, streamlining that for both the state and the industry. And then finally, a very significant piece of our new platform in the first release is self-service user management. Today, the NAIC's service desk gets a little over 10,000 user admin requests for SERFF every year. And while those don't individually take that much time, there is quite a bit of overhead as well as wait time for the customer. So by making that self-service user management, we allow our service desk professionals to assist other users more promptly and then reduce the wait time for our customers. So these are just some of the key improvements that we are bringing starting with the first release. Also just wanted to call out our new logo with the modern look of SERFF. We also wanted a modern and updated logo. So our NAIC communications department helped design this logo, which you will begin seeing in the new application on our website and in any collateral related to the new system. When we do have documentation or other artifacts that are referencing specifically our legacy system, they'll continue to have the old logo. So it will be easier for users to tell which system is being referenced in the documentation. And then ultimately, we will phase that old logo out as we phase out the legacy system. Our project's timeline has shifted since we began, but we're excited to announce that we're going to production with the first release this November. That is currently looking like the early side of November. And that release will include all of the functionality necessary to support the compacts filings. They're our first business type to move to the new platform. We chose the compact because they're a really great business partner for us. They've been very easy to work with, very supportive and collaborative. It's also one of the smaller footprints in SERFF. So we were able to move a little bit more quickly. We are able to experiment and then learn from that so that we can improve on future phases. After the compact goes live, around every 6 to 8 months, we'll bring over another set of usage. Life annuity credit will be next, as it is most closely aligned with the compact, and then property casualty. We've saved health and plan management for the end because they need to be together, and that plan management module is the one that is probably the most different from the others. So there's a lot of special things that we have to do for plan management. We are very aware of the federal deadlines around the plan management activities, so we will be watching that timeline very closely, communicating with CMS as well as the filers and regulators to ensure that that is not disruptive to the normal activities around plan management. After we go live with the compact, we will then begin what we call phase 3.2, which is the life annuity and credit phase. The compact release will have a lot of the base functionality that we need overall. So there's a lot that's built in there that will be used by regulators, but there are some things that will need to be updated. And again, we'll learn from production experience and user feedback to improve those features already delivered. When I think about 3.2, I think of it in kind of 3 categories. Adjusting based on that feedback. So the features that are there that need a little bit of tweaking, we will a little bit maybe on the usability side, we will begin making those types of changes immediately after the first release. And then we need to extend functionality. So again, some of these features were built specifically to meet the needs of this first business type with compact filings, and we will begin to extend those to meet the state requirements and provide additional flexibility and configurations for life annuity credit, and then our property casualty and plan management. And then finally, we will continue to introduce new features, and those will support the states, the compact, and filers. So we have a lot of ideas in our backlog, and as we talk to both industry and regulator customers, we're always receiving new ideas. So we're eager to keep adding great features to the new platform for you. One of the most significant things that we'll be doing over the next year is bringing AI to SERFF. If you attended the previous demo or you've seen some things in the past, you know that we do have a small piece of AI in our first release. We are using 2 AI skills called extraction and classification to help build the form schedule. So we are able to use that to ensure that the form number and the form type are both accurate, so that what's on the screen matches what is in that PDF form that is uploaded. And we consider that foundational to the other AI capabilities that we want to bring. It's really important that we know what type of form that we're working with when we want to apply more sophisticated rules. So we have a goal of introducing meaningful and significant AI capabilities into SERFF by the end of next year. And we are leaning toward some AI around what is often referred to as your state checklist. So those rules that you have for all types of product filings. We recognize that not all states are in the same place about where their checklists are, how formal that is. So we have lots of ideas on how to help ensure that this is something that all states can take advantage of. We've left this goal a little bit open-ended right now because we do have a lot of other use cases for the SERFF system, and we want to make sure that what we deliver is that it's feasible, that it's scalable, and that it provides value to regulators. So while we think that sort of checklist use case is the one that is most important and most prominent, we are considering other use cases as well to continue to bring that AI functionality into SERFF. So that was just a quick update on some things around the project overview, like where we are time-wise. I am going to go ahead and switch into demo mode. So you should be now seeing the new SERFF platform. Many of you have probably already seen some demos before. We've done a lot of demonstrations to the product steering committee. We've done demos to states individually, and we have been at many conferences. So I'm going to hit some of the things that I think are highlights that are of particular interest to states. And I'm really going to focus a little bit on what the states are doing and how we're going to continue to build out this platform beyond the first release. So as you can see, we have a much more modern look and feel. We have updated navigation, and it looks quite different from the legacy platform. As you start to get comfortable with the new system over the coming months and years, you will see that a lot has changed. We haven't simply put a nice shiny new wrapper on the old legacy system. We have taken every feature that is in the legacy system and we've evaluated what it does and why it does it that way and how it can be better. So we have really focused on enhancing the features. We have replaced features, we have streamlined and combined features. So there's quite a bit of change. And one of our jobs over the next year is to get you all comfortable with that change and make sure that you're still able to more effectively do what you need to do in SERFF. Let's go ahead and take a look at some things related to the business rules module. I mentioned that one of the things that we are attempting to do is to put more validation in for the companies so that the filings that they submit are more compliant when you get them. So I'm going to go ahead and open the profile for the Interstate Compact. This is where a lot of the settings will live. And I'm going to start with talking a little bit about business rule configuration. Right now we have business rule configuration available for 3 different fields in SERFF. These are 3 that we worked on with the compact. we see not only the configuration options for these fields growing, but we also anticipate adding many more rules here. One of the things that we do when we are looking at a configuration like this is we work with the states and we look for patterns of things that are common. And then when we can find a pattern, we can build in a UI screen that will help make the configuration changes and set up the business rules much easier. It is something that could be done by the state if they wanted to take that on, and doesn't require a developer or a code release. There will be times when we have states who have really complex or unique business rules, and those might end up being in something called a process model, which would require our staff to be more involved. But today I'll show you some of what we're doing in the UI. I'm going to go ahead and click on effective date. I already have an effective date set up for the compact here, but I'm going to go ahead and edit this. And you can see here some of the way we've lined this out. We can have different effective dates depending on business type. There are a few different options for what the effective date will be. The compact's rule is days from submission. I'm going to go ahead and update this to 60. The compact does allow on approval, but if on approval is not permitted, they would be able to change that, and I'll save that rule. Now, what that has done, it has immediately put in a validation for the companies that if they try to set an effective date that is less than 60 days from their date of submission, they'll not be permitted to do that, and they'll have to correct it prior to submitting. We currently have our state liaisons reaching out to all of the states, starting with the life annuity and credit side, to determine what settings they might like to see here, where you often get mistakes on some of the simple data entry fields, so that we can expand this business rule configuration. I do want to touch just briefly on the state liaisons. If you're not aware of that program, we have assigned someone from our project team to every state. So this would be someone who's in our implementation area, or maybe one of our business analysts, or even product owners like Lauren or myself. And that person will guide the state through the entirety of the project. Right now, those liaisons are regularly meeting with their life, annuity, and credit teams in each state. We will eventually expand into the property casualty groups too, and we will be working with the states to gather their business requirements for things like this, as well as assist with questions, take design suggestions, and assist with training and implementation. We want to make sure that the states have a white glove experience through the entirety of the project and feel that they have someone there that will support them and be available for all of their questions. So far, that program is working really well. If you are in the life annuity and credit space, you probably are already chatting with your liaison on a regular basis. But if you do have any questions about that, feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to go over that with you. I want to show you just a little bit of some of the other things that we are doing in the configuration space. And this time I'm going to just go ahead and open up the configuration for Alabama. Let's see, we will first start over here at the filing fee configuration. So we are building rules to auto calculate the fees for the companies. That has been very popular with the companies, and we will have the first iteration of that in the first release. This LOB to TOI mapping is something that you have been speaking with your liaisons about, and this is how we perform a license check in SERFF. So we are now going to be able to validate that companies are properly licensed down to the type of insurance. So if someone tries to make an individual whole life filing, we will make sure that they have the license in Alabama that is appropriate to that. And then finally, you can also see here that we are starting to work on automatic assignment. So if you have some rules for how filings are to be assigned and they pass your intake checks, this module will help with that assignment. I'm going to go ahead and hop back over into my dashboard because I do want to spend just a little bit of time talking about our tasks module. You would have seen some of this if you attended Lauren's presentation earlier. The new system will have two types of tasks to start with. One is a system generated task. That's something that you'll get when a filing is assigned to you. If the industry responds to some issues that you sent them, you'll receive a task here. You can see this one says, I've got an amendment that was received. The tasks have due dates. This is an SLA that you'll be able to set at the state level. So perhaps in certain types of filings, you want those amendments reviewed and processed within 5 business days. Maybe you give your reviewers 10 days if it's a more complex filing. So we'll be working with you to set those SLAs. And you can also see we've got some nice features here. You can assign and reassign statuses. We've got priorities and we've got filters up here. So you'll be able to see all of these things. Maybe you just want to focus today on your high priority tasks. I see that I have 3 due soon, so you know that you want to get to work on those. We also have the ability to create ad hoc tasks. So while the system will create tasks for things that you need to take action on, you can also create tasks. I'm going to go ahead and create a general task. Now you can create a task on a filing. So perhaps you need a supervisory review and there's not an automated task handling that. But today we'll just create a general one. And that means it can really be about anything. So let's say we want somebody to draft guidance for a new TOI. And we're going to say that that's medium. You can assign tasks to an individual, or you can assign tasks to a group. So maybe anyone in the management group can pick up and work this task. We'll assign it to them. And then we'd like it to by the end of next month. And as easy as that, we've created a task for our management team to review that information. So the tasks module will replace our message center, at least for some things, and it will help manage the workload for the teams. This will take some training and some adjustment, but really the idea that we're looking at here is that most users will start their day on the tasks panel. They'll be able to see what's come in recently. They'll be able to see what is due soon and what the priorities are. And then from these tasks, you can get straight out to the filing for more information. You can complete the tasks, or when you complete the action on the filing, they auto-complete. So once I've looked at the amendment and I have processed it, the task will show as completed. We have a lot of plans for this module. We can build some customizations here. This is where an opportunity exists to help states with their workflow. So if you have escalations that need to happen or rules, I spoke with a state who said every time a filing was submitted with a request for confidentiality, there was a certain person in that department that had to review it. Well, we can auto create tasks for that. So no more having to email people and follow up with them to see if that has been completed. You'll be able to start building all of those rules in the tasks module. I'm going to jump over into filings now, because one of the things that I wanted to show you was a little bit on the creation of issues. So I'm going to open this filing and I'm going to go to this new filing review tab. One of the things that I think is really cool here is that I've got a dashboard at the top that really shows me what's happening with this filing, both what's current and then what has happened over time. Now, these are now called compliance issues and compliance reports. That's a terminology change. Compliance issues are the new name for objections, and the compliance report is the new name for an objection letter. And all of that information will be migrated, but you'll have this nice dashboard at the top. So when I look at this filing, you can see here in total, 11 issues have been logged to this filing. 9 of those are completed. Right now, I don't have anything that's needing my review. So in the earlier demo, we had some people asking about, like, how do I know that what the changes are? Can I see all of the changes? This regulator review section would tell you if a change had come in that you had not looked at. This response required means that you've sent an issue and you're waiting on the company. And then we have 2 issues here in draft right now where I've created it, but I haven't yet sent it to the company. So let's go ahead and take a look at what creating an issue looks like. First of all, I want to point out that we have broadened the places where you can create an issue. So now when you create an issue, you can actually point it to a specific field. Maybe there's a problem with the filing description, and you can still relate it to a schedule item like a form. This will allow us to provide more reporting for you about where issues are happening, and it will eventually help us with more of the AI tools. So we can start to do better validation on whether your filing descriptions that you're receiving meet your rules. And you can see patterns of what types of issues you're sending on something like a filing description, or whether you have particular maybe companies or particular filers who have an unusual number of problems with a particular component. So lots of good, rich reporting available with this more granular approach. I'll just go ahead and create a compliance issue on one of these forms. This little flag, by the way, represents that this already has a compliance issue. And I really like this new screen too, because it's very easy to use if you have a lot of quick text. Now you can still add free form issues whenever you want to, but we'll go ahead and do a quick text. I'm actually seeing the compacts migrated quick text, and you can see they have quite a bit. And no more having to click through drop downs or go through any of that to find something. All you have to know is a word or even a part of word that is in the quick text, and you will be able to drill down. Still have quite a few here, so I can go ahead and use my category. I can also try a more specific word. And you can see it's very quickly narrowing that down. I can choose multiple things here. So if I have 2 particular issues, I can add both of those and insert that quick text. That has created 2 compliance issues. So when I'm trying to track what's going on with this filing, I'll know that I found 2 different problems with this particular form. And I'll go ahead and save that. And you see here now my filing review tab will be updated. I now have 4 issues in draft. Once I send those to the industry in a compliance report, those will flip over to response required. So now I know I'm waiting for the industry to respond to 4 different things. When they respond, I'll have issues in regulator review. And then when those issues are processed, it will move to completed. So this dashboard will give you a nice glimpse of what's going on with the filing. In the first release, everything that the industry changes, whether they do it in response to your compliance report or they do what we call a voluntary amendment, will come to the regulator. In this case, it's the compact staff for a review. So you will literally see all the changes. You will have the ability to accept that change, in which case the filing is updated. You will also have the ability to decline the change. If they add something to the filing that you don't believe is appropriate, we know that sometimes a form maybe gets added kind of late in the game and it starts to change what that filing is, or maybe it doesn't really belong there. You can decline that change and it's not made to the filing. The other thing that you can do is if they have responded with a change, but that change didn't fix the issue or it created a different issue, you can decline that change too. And when you do that, that compliance issue that you sent them remains open. So today you would have had to, it would just automatically be on the filing. You'd look at it and then you would have to create a new objection for the same issue, maybe plus the other problems that were created. And now you just decline the change. You send them a comment back explaining that they didn't resolve the issue, maybe further elaborating, and it is back in their court. That doesn't change our total count of issues. It just pushes that one back. That's another place will be really nice for reporting, so that you can see, how many times you've had to cycle back and forth with the industry on the same issue. So we're really excited about this. We think it's going to provide a lot more options to you as the state, and again, some really, really robust reporting. So speaking of reporting, the last thing that I really wanted to show you today was an end user reporting module. This seems like the time to clarify that I am in an active development environment, and sometimes things don't perform exactly like they did when I practiced this morning. So hopefully this behaves. This is another out-of-the-box module that comes with our new platform. This is one of the reporting options that we'll offer. The other one's not quite ready for prime time, so I'll just go ahead and show you this end user reporting. I would say this might be moderately complex to navigate. I think once you get the hang of this, it's not too hard to use. And the SERFF team will create and share several sample reports. But if you have someone in your team that is really good at reporting, then it might be a good thing to get them trained on this, and they can provide and build the reports. And I'll show you or talk about some of the really cool features that come with this. So let's go ahead and create a report. I'm going to start with a grid report because I want to show you this. I think that this is where most people are going to start. We are going to build just a simple list. The next thing you do is you choose a record type. Now the project team will create the record types. This is one thing that we have to do, and then we publish these record types and they are available to you. For the first release, we will for certain have a record type for basic filing information, and then we'll have a record type for fees and payments. And then as we work with the states as well as the companies, we'll build additional record types as needed. So when I've chosen a record type, another nice thing I can do is I can click over here and I can see the data that's in that record type to make sure I've gotten the right one. Now, this is not the final data that will be in the record type. This is just a sample. So this looks good. This looks like the type of data I want. So I'm going to go back over here to my record selection, and now I'm going to hit next. We'll come back here in a second and talk about some of these other reporting options. So the next thing I will do is select my columns. Any column that has been put into the records that I chose is available to me. And I am going to, for this example, choose two. I'm going to choose the type of insurance grouping and the SERFF tracking number. Type of insurance group is a new field in SERFF, and that is meant to group all of your annuities, all of your long-term care, and your other groupings. So you no longer have to select multiple TOIs to get that type of grouping. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here is I am going to add a condition. So I am looking for a report that tells me what types of filings I have gotten in a certain amount of time. So let's see. I want a date submitted. I'm looking for a date range. And I can put in specific dates, but what's kind of nice is I can also choose, I just want this for the last 12 months. So I've added my filter here. And then I will also tell that I want this. Okay, this is so I've created my basic data set, and I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And you can see here that it's building the report. I'm going to be able to export this data, print it, whatever I need to do. For this example, one of the things I wanted to show you was I may get here and realize, well, this is not very pretty to look at. So let's go ahead and make some modifications. I'm just going to click back here to report setup, and let's do a pie chart instead. If I want a nice little pie chart for my status report about the types of filings my group is getting, this seems like a good option. Now that we are providing this type of chart, we have to do some groupings. So I'm going to group by type of insurance. And for every type of insurance, I wanted to count the number of SERFF filings as represented by that SERFF tracking number. So that looks pretty good. Confirm my grouping down here. Confirm my count right here. Looks good. And just like that, I have created a nice graphical report that shows me the distribution of filings by TOI group. From here, I can name this report and save it. And I have a number of other options that will come with this tool. you can share the report. So you can have someone in your team build reports for you and they can share it. You can also share reports with other states. I know we have some states who do a lot of really cool reporting, and you may want to share that with a colleague in another state. And you can schedule your reports. So if you would like this report or a similar report to be run once a week, once a month, you can schedule that and you can have it emailed to a recipient. So some really nice options to build a lot of customization around reporting. Go ahead and clean out of that and back over to my dashboard. Those are some of the highlights I wanted to show today. Again, we have a lot of things coming and we'll continue to work with the states to get your input, to build out your state specific configurations, to understand your workflows and your preferences to make sure that the platform will support you. That is what I intended to cover in demo today. So I think we have some time for questions. How are we doing on questions, Renee?
They've been answering them, but I think one thing we've seen is if a liaison hasn't contacted their state or maybe talking to different people at the state, what should the people that are on this session do?
So if you, I would say you can email me directly, and I should say that, for everyone on the call, if you have any questions, concerns, ideas, you want to talk about the SERFF modernization, you want a custom demo, you want us to come visit you, we love to do site visits to states, please always feel free to reach out to me directly. In general, though, we do have an email address. And Lauren, if you wouldn't mind putting that in the chat, I neglected to put it on my slides. But there is an email called, it's SERFF Modernization Questions at NAIC.org. And the whole team modifies that. So if you don't know who your liaison is, then you can reach out and we can share with you who your liaison is, as well as who they've currently been working with. So if you feel like maybe we haven't hit the right person and you'd like to expand that group, we'll be happy to share with you where we are in that process. Again, right now we've been focusing primarily on life annuity and credit. One of the things that we've been having our liaisons focus on as well is making sure that states are prepared for this first release. In the first release, it's the compact. So the states need to know what the functionality looks like for a member state. So we have a demo that we can do to show you what that looks like. We need to confirm who needs access to view the compact filings in the new platform. We need to make sure that we understand your fees so we can get the fee configuration rules set up. We need to get your line of business to TOI mapping, and that's complete for most states. So most states are in a really good spot in terms of being ready for that first release. We do also want to make sure that your screen, we'll look at Alabama's right here. We'll be gathering some information to make sure that we have the accurate agency name. Not everybody is called Department of Insurance. The URL, we've got some contact information that we can capture. So we'll be reaching out on those things as well. But yes, if you aren't sure who your liaison is, email us and we'll make sure to get you hooked up.
All right, great. And then we have another one in the chat. This says, when creating the pie chart, selecting the group and the count was selected and then selected again. Are you allowed to have multiple groups / counts?
Yes, it's a pretty sophisticated reporting. To be honest, like I'm still kind of learning to navigate it myself. So I did choose a pretty simple use case, but it is pretty robust. And then there is another reporting tool that has recently been introduced. It's called Process HQ. And that has some really nice features too. So one of the things that we're working on is depending on the user and their goals, whether they need which tool they need or whether they need both. And I think Process HQ is going to be a little bit better maybe for exploratory reporting, but there's good options there for the states.
Okay, and then I have another one that says, are you limited to the number of columns you can select for the record type?
We have not yet discovered a limit. So we put the columns in the record set and then you choose from the record set. So your limit might be, so if we have on the filing, for instance, like maybe we define 30 data elements for the filing record set. You can select all 30, but you can't select any field that's not in that record set. So if you were to start exploring this and you were to find that there was data that you needed that wasn't in a record set, we have two options. We either modify that record set or create a new one, or we may direct you to Process HQ, which is the reporting tool I didn't demo, because that one is a little bit more flexible in terms of you don't need us to do the record sets. So the end user reporting will be it'll replace the it will replace the canned reports that we have today. And right now it has more additional features. So it has the ability like to schedule and share reports, and the Process HQ reporting doesn't have that yet. So that's kind of one of the balances between choosing which tool.
Okay, and then we have several. One is the task feature going to be available for the first release?
Tasks are available, but right now we don't have it enabled for member state regulators because you typically would not have tasks related to a compact filing. We do know that there are some states that are exception to that, and we will look at adding the task for those states. So in the first release, it is available specifically for the compact and then for their filers.
Okay, and then our next one is, can we share a report with other instances internally?
You can share the report that you built, and then when they run the report, the difference is it reports on the data they have access to. So I'll give a slightly different example to explain. Let's say that Arkansas builds a report, and a regulator in Missouri says, that's really cool. I'd love to have that report. So the regulator in Arkansas can share that report to the regulator in Missouri. But when Missouri runs it, they get Missouri data, not Arkansas data. And so it's related to the data you have access to.
Great. All right, and here's another one. It says, will the find filing or reporting sections be replacing the current filings, search filings, export, select export objects? And
Yes,
then if so, when will the current select export objects no longer be available?
So legacy won't change at all. As long as you are working in the legacy environment, it is what it is. In the new platform, those changes start with the first release. And our philosophy here is the legacy has a very robust advanced search, where it's the hammer and every problem is a nail, right? And so you have the same tool no matter what you're trying to do. In the new system, we're trying to tease that apart a little bit and give you tools that are more fit for purpose. Therefore, they will be easier to use and be able to produce better results for you. So you will have find filing. So the dashboard is where you will go for any filing that is open. You don't see your closed filings here. This is intended to be, here's the work that's in front of us that we need to do. Find filing is all your filings. And so this is for looking for something specific, looking for, doing research, and maybe some real high level questions. It is not meant for reporting. That is where you would go to end user reporting or Process HQ, and that's where you'll have the export to. So you'll be able to pull results out with either the export on either end user reporting or Process HQ. Right now, we don't have an export built off of find filing. We're talking about it, so we may be able to provide that in the future.
Okay. All right, and they're all coming in now, so there's several more. Is a testing program going to be available as we need to practice while we are learning?
Yes, we have a beta environment, and we've actually started doing some user acceptance testing for the first release. Now, right now, we're focused on a couple of filers and the compact themselves because they are the ones that really have a lot of impact with this first release. Once we get through that, as we start building out the life annuity credit, we'll be able to provide greater access to that beta environment so people can learn. I also think that that'll help states. You need to think about your current processes where it's very SERFF specific, because you will almost certainly have to rethink and redesign some of your processes based on the new platform. A lot of new opportunity, but also a lot of change. The only caveat I would say is that we have to be able to manage that. So we need to make sure that we have someone who can answer your questions and troubleshoot issues. So we have to be a little bit, maybe a little bit restrictive, where we may say that we can give access to 1 or 2 people, or maybe in rounds, like maybe we would do some scheduling. So it is there, but we do have to have a little bit of a controlled experience.
Okay, thank you. And is there a beta release available to health prior to Q2 2026?
Every release will have, well, I guess it depends on how you define beta. Every release or code change goes through the environment. So we start and develop, we have internal QA, and then we go to beta, which is our user acceptance testing, and then to production. How long we spend in beta will depend. If it's small changes or what might be a hot fix, we're going to move through beta real quick to get to production. New features might sit in beta longer to get user feedback, but after we're already putting all code through to beta now, and we'll continue that through the remainder of the project.
Okay, thank you. And it says, what is Bridget's favorite 1 or 2 report types that can be ran?
Oh my gosh. Bridget is still very much learning this. So I haven't even played with all of them. I haven't played with Process HQ really almost at all, but I love all of the graphical reports, because I think, it's nice. It gives you that high level visual. It's great for your reporting upwards. And I like when it can call out patterns, right? So something like a column chart, and I see spikes, or I do, a year over year, and I see a trend, but something is a little off. I really like that kind of at a glance visual.
Okay. And then as far as AI, is that just for forms?
It is for right now. And a lot of times, to be honest, when we talk about AI and SERFF, and we talk about checklists, the form review is like, we almost naturally gravitate toward that. But we have started talking with some regulators about AI in rate review. I think we just need more discussion on that. For us, it's kind of easy to understand form review. I couldn't do it, but I understand it, right? Because I'm looking at a contract and I'm evaluating sort of the language in that contract. And rate review is a little bit harder, at least for me, to kind of get my head around. So we need to really engage with some regulators who have ideas about how AI can help in other spaces. And then, I think that there are just tons of possibilities.
Okay. All right. And then here's one is how, and this was coming from a state, can they stay updated with SERFF mod updates? And when will they have access to training materials for the first release?
All of your updates and your touch points are through your liaison. So we started that program probably over this summer. It is ramping up. And so your liaison will be regularly coming to you to give you demos, ask you questions, get your feedback, provide materials, help with training. All of that will be through your liaison.
Okay. And then how can states configure their own fees and business rules in the application?
So we have a role that can be assigned to a user that gives them access to do that. So the particular user that I am logged in as has the ability to do configurations and business rules. What we'll probably do is have some specialized training, particularly as the system gets more complex. Right now, what we have in there is pretty easy to manage. But you can you can disrupt, right? So if you go in and you try to change your fees and you make a mistake, you're going to start calculating incorrect fees for the industry. And there's overrides, and so it's fixable, but the more we add there, kind of the more complex this might be. So we're going to have to provide some really good training materials and make sure that we're careful. That might be a place where that beta environment comes in handy, because maybe we could test out changes there. And Renee, I'm trying to be conscious of time. Am I okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, that's fine. So we have one more. How can we express interest in using Tableau in addition to reporting?
Yeah, I've totally forgot to mention our awesome Tableau dashboards. Go ahead and email. There's a different email that we often use for Tableau, but I don't want to confuse things. So email the address we've already given, or me, or your liaison, and we'll be happy to get you set up with the Tableau dashboards. Yes, and my email address, and I'm going to throw it in chat here too, bkaris@naic.org. I think I'm also all over the SERFF website, and probably if you Google SERFF modernization, Lauren and I's names and emails will come up. And again, you have a liaison to guide you, but I'm always more than happy to help with questions or to talk to you about the project. And also just my sign off, Renee, maybe is I have a goal to visit every department of insurance. My time frame kind of keeps adjusting a little bit, but I would say like within maybe the next 5 years, I'd like to visit every department of insurance. And because we want to sit with you, talk to you about how you use legacy, talk to you about the new system, and learn how we can help you better. So we'd love to visit. So if you are interested in that, please do reach out.
Great. Thank you so much, Bridget. And thank you for everyone that has joined this session. And we hope to see many of you next week in person at the conference. Have a great afternoon.
Bye, everyone.